you're avoiding the hard sparring, if you're avoiding doing the tough stuff, like you can't expect to be great if you don't do that, you know. So what are you fighting for?
There we go.
This is the Susan Wallace fight. This bitch. I'll never forget. We're standing at the bag at 24, and I was like, yeah, I really love to punch some shit, and I like threw this, and I was like, I really love to punch some shit, and I was like, all right, let's do it.
Muay Thai, the art of 8 limbs. Whether you train in it, casually watch it, or are only aware because of Kickboxer or Tony Jaa movies, no worries, because today's guest is not only a pro at the art with 2 US titles and 1 world title, but her last fight won by a viral knockout to boot. Her story is definitely one worth hearing. It's time to meet the Muay Thai Princess. Because this time I've got a lady who is a well-known fighter in Muay Thai. That's the art of 8 limbs. We know this. She currently holds 2 US titles, 1 world title. I kind of feel like I should go like Michael Buffer style, like let's get ready to rumble. she's here at like 5'2", 112 pounds fighting weight as well. She's the host of the Unconventional podcast, Muay Thai Princess herself, Miss Desiree Wodicker. How are you, ma'am?
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm doing great, man, and I appreciate you for having me on your show. I'm excited to talk about Muay Thai and fighting and Kung Fu. I know nothing about Kung Fu, by the way.
Oh man, listen, I love talking to people from different genres of martial arts, different styles. I've actually never had a Muay Thai. Well, I had Jeff Channon, who does Muay Thai, but more MMA on the MMA side. But you're like a purist Muay Thai person, and I love talking to people that are just like really, you know, they're at the top of the game in their perspective style, right?
Yeah.
So no, thanks for doing this, of course, and congratulations on all your latest achievements, man. Your last fight, you won by knockout. Thing went viral. I like, for people that don't know, you were a badass. I'm gonna just show people right away what they're dealing with when they talk about Desiree Wodicker, Muay Thai Princess. Like, oh wait. Oh, the knockout. I gotta show the knockout. Wow, man. All right, yeah. So we're starting with that right away, man. Congratulations on that fight. I'm gonna start just because I got so many things to ask, but I want to start from the beginning so we kind of just have like a way to roll here. Your beginnings, your background. I know you're a Midwest girl, right? You grew up in St. Louis. Yes. So talk to me about that, so people can kind of paint a little picture here of Desiree and her upbringing and all that good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I had a really interesting, very unconventional, I guess you would say, upbringing. Martial arts was never like a part of my story growing up. My dad was ex-Force Recon Marine, and we were stationed to Hawaii, and he met my mom in the Philippines, and so I'm a creation of that. And then when they divorced, my dad moved my sister and I back to St. Louis. And that's where we were raised. So my dad raised me primarily, in my younger youth, and he's always been a badass. He's always been super tough, and he's instilled like a lot of really good qualities in me, a lot of my morals and a lot of my work ethic and a lot of my stuff that people admire today are rooted because of that guy. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I'm definitely daddy's girl. He's always been kind of my hero. He's been through a lot in life, and so I've always admired him. I've always pushed harder because of him. And so, yeah, it was really interesting growing up in Missouri, being like this brown girl that looks like she's from somewhere around the world, and people have no idea, because St. Louis growing up used to be either really white or really black, and you there's no in between, right? So it was really hard to kind of fit in growing up, and I academically achieved. I also athletically achieved. I did gymnastics growing up on a competitive level all the way until, I was probably mid-teens, something like that, and then my gym kind of closed down. But in high school, I was varsity cheerleading, varsity soccer. I played competitively, and it was like my way of being able to fit in. Or kind of kind of eliminating any factors about me that, like, I could stand on my own. Like, I don't need to be part of the white kid crew or the black kid crew. Like, I was standing on my own with my own achievements and my own stuff. And like, that way I didn't really have to prove anything to anybody. It was just like proving to myself that I just needed myself, you know, like it was really kind of interesting growing up like that. But yeah, I never really, my dad wrestled when he was younger. He was always like that dad that woke up at 6 a.m, worked out P90X in the basement, you know, but right. He broke my damn finger wrestling one time, like just broke it. And then I was like, it's broken. And
my finger! My finger!
He's the kind of guy that was like, let me look at it, and like pop my finger back in place and was like, you're fine. And I'm like, what?
It's like,
he was a tough ass, and I appreciate him for that though. And you know, it's like, it's funny because then I get older, I'm in high school, and I get into like this really bad motorcycle accident. My uncle dies, I'm on the back of it. We go head on into a Yukon going like 60 miles an hour. I break my jaw. I don't need to be worried, until we started continuing to veer. And then I realized, oh my gosh, something's happening. There were 2 Yukons coming up the other side of the street, following each other. I had to have reconstructive surgery. Like, it was very traumatic, and it really like changed the trajectory of my life, believe it or not. And you know, the things that I wanted to do, like go to a D1 college and cheer, you know, go and experience like what normal life was. I never really got that experience, you know what I mean? Because of this thing I was dealing with. And for a long time there was a lot of anger there. There was a lot of anger, depression. I definitely was partying a lot and turning to the wrong people, drugs, and all of this stuff, and to a really dark place. And I started like seeking this discovery about myself. And I had my son very young at 21. Believe it or not, at 21, you know, I had already gone to Miami. I'd already gone to Vegas. I had the fake IDs. I was already way past my limits with, you know, where I should have been at 18. You know, I owned a house in Atlanta at 18. Like, who can say they owned a house at 18 in a completely different state? But I was definitely going down the wrong path. I had learned a lot of lessons and learned a lot of things that many people would not see in their lifetime, you know, a lot of hard lessons. But it also like forced me to grow. It also forced me to acquire knowledge. It also forced me to learn how to survive and get out of things that I had put myself in, right? Which could have been avoided. Right. And so then I had my son at 21, and he really changed my life. You know, he changed my life because I had now to provide for another living creature, like another human being, and your purpose changes. So I decided to go through school. I decided to get my associates and then kind of transfer to get my bachelor's, things like that. And at the time, my son's dad and I were not really doing that well. And so I had gotten to the point where I was like, I need change, you know? And at the time, I also wasn't talking with my father. And I was at that point where I was like, you know, the little girl in you that's like, hey, I want to make my parents proud. I want to prove something. I want to be a pleaser, because I have always been a pleaser as it relates to the people that I love, you know? I've always spent a lot of energy people pleasing with those that are close to me. It's also been a hindrance, you know, because at some point you have to really say, am I doing things from an intentional place, right? That are things that are going to serve me and what makes me happy and all this stuff. And back then I wasn't doing that. It was like, I want to make up for lost time. I want to make up for the mistakes that I made. And even though the intentions are good, you end up making mistakes in that process because they're not authentic to yourself. Right. And that's hard. That's really hard. So I left. I was at a company called Marconi. Shout out to Marconi. They're an appliance parts distributor. I was a killer in sales. I learned how to sell. My dad always told me, if you're going to learn any skill, you need to learn how to sell. This is the most invaluable thing. If you know how to sell, you're at one point in your life, you're going to be successful at whatever you're doing. Okay.
Get back in there at once and sell.
At that point, I was like, I need more than this. Like, I think I'm going to get into the financial industry, right? Okay. Because that's where my dad was.
Okay.
And I was like, fuck it. I'm gonna quit my job. I'm gonna try to get a job at Wells Fargo. Okay. The headquarters is in St. Louis. I was right down the street.
St. Louis, that's cool.
All right. I applied 32 fucking times to Wells Fargo. Denied.
Wow. 32?
On the 32. But I was like, no, I know there's a way. I ended up contacting some friends, and the branch manager had changed, and God had just aligned the right things and put me there. Okay. Yeah. You go in, right, in this industry, in the wealth management space, you have to take a Series 7, a 66. Okay, those are your federal and your state licenses that are required. It's almost like the bar equivalent, a portion of the bar. If you fail that test, you automatically lose your job. Okay, so I pass. Then the state exam, they give you 2 tries, much shorter tests, but extremely hard. Legalities inside, legal jargon, all this stuff that you have to know. I failed twice, okay?
Wow. Okay.
I got booted from the program after I had just left the company I'd been with, doing well at, right? I have a brand new baby.
Right. And you applied to the job 30 plus times.
30 plus times. And my relationship wasn't going good. So I was like, what am I going to do? Like, I was so heartbroken that we were at this junction and I didn't have a solution. So I go to California. I apply for jobs in San Francisco, Wells Fargo, at the biggest Wells Fargo in downtown San Francisco, at the 555 building. Okay. And I didn't hear anything. And I was like, what the fuck? So I called my buddy Drew and I was like, I haven't heard anything from anybody. He gives me, I was like, can I get the branch manager's number? He gives me the fucking regional manager's telephone number. Okay. Wow. Kevin Kitchen is this guy's name. He's still in the business. So Kevin Kitchen, if you hear this,
all right.
I got mad respect for you. You are the reason, part of the reason that I entered back into the business. He gave me a chance. I got him on the, he's like, I'm not the right person to talk to, Des, but I'm going to give you 5 minutes. I said, look, I want to be here. I don't know how I can get back in. I'm willing to take a step back from my role just to get back in, to get experience, to figure out how to do this. Okay. He says, I like what you're saying. I'm going to put you in touch. Interviewed with this team, hire me. Next day, they're like, we want her. Okay. Then they call me back the next day. You don't have your 66. You're not licensed. We can't hire you. Oh,
wow.
I was like, what the fuck? So what do? I call my dad. Okay. And I say, Dad, I don't know what to do.
Right.
He says to me, this is his response. Well, he's like, you either shit or get off the pot. And I was like, what does that mean? You know? He's like, call them back, Des, call them back. Say, hey, you were going to hire me. That means you like me. Okay. If you give me 30 days and I pass this test on my own, I'll pay for everything. Will you still hire me? And they fucking said yes.
Yes.
That's great advice, though, from your dad. And sounds like typical Marine, like, hey, listen, it's a problem. Here's a solution. So
shout out to you, Dad, for making me, pushing past those boundaries.
Yeah. Absolutely. I was going to ask you because you're like, and I love that you gave me all this history because there's so much I didn't know. I knew you went into wealth management, and I know you unfortunately went through that accident when you were younger. And of course, because of that, I'll ask you, do you think obviously because of the accident, maybe you had a little guilt and that's what kind of led you down some of those bad paths in the beginning? Or was that something you just kind of had to deal with, as you progressed?
And that led me to a lot of how I kind of found Muay Thai, right? Which was your original question. But one, I think I didn't get a chance to fulfill my athletic dreams, and I had always been athletic. I don't think it was more guilt. I think at that time, my dad and I talk about this too sometimes, right? Because when my jaw was broken, everything was a mess. My dad pushed me really hard to get back to normalcy. He was like I was in ICU for like weeks, you know, I was in the hospital for weeks. And he didn't like how the doctors were handling me in California. He wanted to bring me home. I hadn't walked. I was really, really in bad shape, but he was like, get up, we're walking. Get up, we're gonna walk, and you're gonna get the fuck out of here. I'm taking you back home to St. Louis, okay? And so he pushed me. And then when we got home, he pushed me more. He pushed me to eat, right? I had lost like 30 pounds in that process. My jaw was wired shut. I was going through major depression. My friends were all like, Desiree lost a limb, everything he's talking about. Because I was fairly popular in high school, you know? So it was like a big thing that all of this happened. And so there was a lot of pressure on me. And then, you know, he also forced me to like go back to school because he didn't want me to redo my grade, and I went to school with my jaw wired shut. It was really really hard. Like I had to face a lot of things. That's why today, but I feel like today I'm not ashamed of shit. You know what I mean? If I can walk into my school in front of my peers with my jaw wired shut and lost 30 pounds, I can fucking do anything. You know what I mean? There's nothing that I feel embarrassed about. There's nothing that I feel like I can't accomplish because I've done really hard things at a very young age.
Right.
You know, and hard things make us better. You know, we avoid them, but instead of embracing like, this is hard, this is going to break me down. Like, you know, I'm going to do it because it's going to make me better, you know? Then I had no choice, right? Like I had to fight. I had no other choice but to fight. And I had a really strong man there that was pushing me to do that. But I think there was pluses and minuses to that, right? Because I think Desiree didn't really get a chance to emotionally deal with the trauma that had happened. I had really covered a lot of that stuff up to just push forward, you know, like I covered it up and ignored it. And then later in life, it kind of crept up on me that I didn't really get to process a lot of this stuff because I was so quick to move past it, to keep pushing forward my life that I didn't take the time to do the inner work.
Got it. Okay.
And yeah, that's hard.
Yeah, I would imagine so, because experiences like that change people's lives. It literally change people's lives. And I think there's, you know, if nothing else, and you can probably speak to this even better, impactful things like that, either you're on a path of one way or the other. Either you just get swallowed up by the depression, or you say, okay, I'm moving forward. These are the things I got to do. And you're basically hit another level because you truly realize that, okay, time is precious. It's like tomorrow's not promised. I've got to just get my shit together and go and you know, really just push forward. So a lot of that have to do with like when you're getting into the picking Muay Thai. So I want to talk about that too. When you finally say, okay, I'm going to, you know, become an actual fighter. What's that process like? And why'd you pick Muay Thai actually?
It's crazy actually. So yeah, my journey, I moved to California. I start realizing, you know, I'm so ignorant to culture. I'm so ignorant to life, to the way people live, to everything. You know, I hadn't had pho or Indian food until like 2015, 16. Like, you know, I mean, I was already in my mid 20s and I'm like, what is this?
Right on.
and so I'm like, you know what? I moved to California. I've done all this stuff. Like I have a chance. And this is what I tell people today, young people especially, right? Like when we're young, you don't realize that as we enter into different stages in life, we have an opportunity to rewrite our story, right? Nothing is ever the same. I'd say there's periods where I was a really good person, and then I was a really shitty person, you know, and then I was a really good person. Then I chose, hey, this is who I want to be. And let's, like, as I figured out how I wanted to be as time went on, then it was like, all right, now I can grow on this, you know? But we have these special times in our life where we can kind of restart and rewrite our story if we're not happy with the way our life is going. And I think that's so magical. I think God has given me a few times in my life to rewrite my story. And so at that time, I was like just trying really new things. I was rock climbing. I was doing this. I was doing that. I was going to different churches. You know, I was seeking deeper into my faith, into my Christian faith. I was trying new foods and meeting new people and exploring. You know, I really was. I had started traveling and exploring the world and understanding how life works. And, you I was excited about that. It was probably the most exciting time in my life as I was younger, and at the time I was being a mom too. So I was like, man, I'm really unhealthy. Like, Missouri is not the healthiest place to grow up, with your
yeah.
baby, I'm eating fried chicken, sweet potatoes, like, it's unhealthy, okay?
What you talking about that's healthy? I know what healthy is.
And I was like, I think I'm gonna change some things. So I started working out more. I started getting in the gym, and I'm meeting new friends that were healthy, and they were exciting to be around. And so I was going to 24-hour fitness for several years. I was going to do a body competition, bodybuilding competition. And then my friend there was like, oh, we should go to this gym in Dublin called Combat Sports Academy. And I was like, yeah, this is freaking dope. Like, they have CrossFit. I'd never done CrossFit before. So they had CrossFit, and then they had boxing. I thought it was just boxing at first because I was so unaware. But I told her, I'll never forget, we're standing at the bag at 24. And I was like, yeah, I'd really love to punch some shit. And I like threw this.
I want you to hit me as hard as you can.
And I was like, I really love to punch some shit. And I was like, all right, let's do it. So she told me they had free CrossFit classes on Saturdays. So I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's go. I started doing CrossFit, and I was like, oh, this is really fun. I mean, I'm dying, but this is really cool and fun. And the people there are amazing. And then, I walked onto the fight site because it was divided. And I was like, what is this dark ass place over here? Like, what is this smelly, this? I was like, this is so
dingy.
foreign.
Yeah, it's like that Fight Club vibe. Yeah.
Yeah. And we have a really nice gym. Like, don't take it like it's, we have an amazing gym, but the athletes there, I mean, you could just see me not knowing anything about martial arts. I was moved. I was like, wow, this is really freaking cool. So I got my son into jiu-jitsu and their jiu-jitsu program, and then I started boxing. And then, one of the coaches was like, hey, you're pretty good. Like, you're super athletic. Like, you should keep training. So I kept training. Okay. Yeah. And then I just slowly but surely started taking it a little bit more seriously as time went on. Okay. And then my coach kind of planted some seeds, was like, if you ever wanted to try to fight, you could definitely do it, and he
wow. And you're like, really? Okay.
Yeah, he planted the seed. And then one day I was like, hey, if I really wanted to try to do this, could you help me? And he's like, yeah, for sure. That's what we do here. We build world champions. And ever since then, man, I've just been full throttle in my training. And I'd say since 2016, training 5 to 6 days a week. Obsessed, I'm obsessed. It's it's a good obsession, but I'm obsessed. And
you found your calling, right?
It has been amazing, this journey that I've built community around me, a community around myself, everything, my mental health. I mean, everything that has come from Muay Thai has helped me become a better person. And not only that, kind of figure out my life, because I was at a really big financial institution. I left last year because I realized through this journey that I wasn't living in my authentic self,
And your purpose,
I started digging a little deeper, and I was like, man, why did I make these decisions, right? Like, where were those decisions, where were they originating from? You know what I'm saying? Within myself. Yeah. And as I started to truthfully answer that stuff, I uncovered that I wasn't being truthful with myself. I was just fighting because that's all I knew how to do. I was fighting, and I had grit, and I've been successful with doing that, but hasn't always made me 100% happy. And I feel like a lot of us do that. And so now I'm on this journey to kind of help people uncover that for themselves, help them break barriers for themselves that they have, and kind of defy odds that they have against themselves. And so that's where we're at today. It's really cool.
No, that's freaking awesome, man. So yeah, 9 years in, Muay Thai just became your thing. I got some footage of like one of your earlier fights, and I want you to talk to me a little bit about when you first kind of, because you said you talked to your coach and he's like, if you want to do this, you can do it. But when he first kind of comes to you, he's like, hey, listen, I'm like lining up a fight for you. Are you like on edge in your mind, like let's do it? Or are you like a little like trepidation going on, or what's the vibe, and like what's your like mental process at the time when he goes, I'm gonna get you in a fight?
Yeah. So Kieran Fitzgibbons is my head coach, okay, at CSA.
Yes.
He is definitely a scientist when it comes to the process of making world champions, okay? He has his processes and people like them, they don't like them, but I am a sitting example of that process, okay? Yeah. He has taken me through, what he does is, for the most part, for athletes, we go through a process where we're training, and you have to show consistency before you can get into certain classes, all of these things. He wants to see your dedication. And then at the point where it's time for you to fight, we have PKBs. PKBs are sanctioned. They're kind of like glorified sparring events, where you're sparring a stranger, right? It's no knockout. If you go too hard, they kind of like stop you. You know what I mean? Like, it's about technique, and it's such a beautiful place for people that are new to get the nerves out, see how they perform, see if they listen to their corners, and see how they deal with the stress. And so PKBs, I did a handful of those PKBs. And then I think at that point, people were scared. They were like, this girl is, we should put her in an amateur fight because she's kind of good. And
damn, that's getting good.
And I didn't want to be at a point where I was like, in there just beating up girls to beat up girls, Right. Like, I didn't want to, people always looked at me like, and I'm like, bro, I have this many fights. Like, you have this many fights. Like, it's not the same, Maybe I'm just better athletically. I don't know. So we kind of got the fast track, and he's always my first amateur fight. He didn't corner my first amateur fight, actually. My Jason Andrade, who's in Las Vegas, he's crazy. Jason Andrade is a badass. He's also a former Muay Thai fighter, but has a gym, Andrade Muay Thai. He is one of the coaches for Shevchenko. He's on their team. Yeah, he's like the deal. And I'll never forget, I was nervous as okay. Right. This girl was a whole completely different person after weigh-ins, number one. Okay. We fought at a heavier weight, and the day of weigh-ins, I was fine. And then the next day I saw her, and she had gained the weight back. And I was like, who is this girl that I'm about to step in front of? And she was good. She had already had fights underneath her. This is my amateur debut. I sold out that place with 8 limbs, and all my peers and everybody were there. And Jason turned to me and he looked and he said, just fight, Des. And I was like, okay, well, just fight. So yeah, I did that, and it took me a really hard cross in the beginning. I actually started, my nose is bleeding. She was southpaw too, which I had never trained against a southpaw.
Yeah, that's different, right?
It was challenging, but yeah, I won that fight and I felt great about it. And then as time went on, we have fought really hard girls. He's always challenged me. We've taken fights that I shouldn't have done, and taken fights that I was the better athlete, and we knew that, but we needed to get a fight. He's kind of given me a variation of things. And then probably about 4 years ago, I'd say, my other coach, Coach Mao, he's from Costa Rica. He lived and fought in Thailand with his wife for over 12 years. They have a gym called Sutai, and he is the best Muay Thai coach in the world, I would argue. And he came in and beat my ass, basically.
Right, got you.
He beats my ass today, he has taken Kieran's foundation and everything that he's put in me, which is an amazing foundation, and he has elevated my game to the next level. And today, to answer your question, I'm not afraid to do anything. I have put myself through, and I continue to put myself through really, really tough training. I'm not afraid to stand in front of people and fight. I welcome the challenge. I want to be recognized as the best in the world. And so, yeah, I'm continuously striving for that. And I think, again, it's back to the hard stuff. It's like, even with training and fighting, if you're avoiding the hard sparring, if you're avoiding doing the tough stuff, like, you can't expect to be great if you don't do that, so what are you fighting for? That's kind of how I look at it. Like, Saturday, I'm about to go spar a bunch of girls in box sparring. I have no idea. Half of them I know, half of them I don't know. And if you've ever done boxing sparring, it is very different.
Yeah.
Very different.
When those hands get flying, man, it's you actually brought something really, really good. And it's just like you're saying, you got to put the work in, and like you're mentioning, and you're about to do your thing this weekend, which is awesome. But even in your past fights, it's like the whole thing when you were, because there's a strategy involved, right? Your coach puts you out there. We got to get these fights under your belt. But you were saying how it's like, you were talking to girls. It's like, hey, I've only got this many fights. You got those many fights. But there's an attitude as well, right? There's a grit thing. It's cliche. Eye of the tiger. Eye of the tiger. Some people have it, some people don't. They just have that instinct when they get in the ring to be able to just like be clear and focused, and they're just the fear is gone, and they're after their goal. It's like and then some people just come in and it's like, okay, I hope I can do this. I hope, like, you have the wrong mentality. So I think you've proven that, there's also that mindset. I talk about that a lot with different guests about the mindset. It's like, whether you're doing whatever martial arts you're doing, right? If you have that mindset, it's like you can almost overcome any odd. I mean, yes, size does matter in certain circumstances, but that mindset is so much. And it seems like you and your coaches have really done, or I should say your coaches have done a really good job of really, really imprinting that in you. And you probably already had some of that drive anyway, because you're such a fighter just coming up. But I think that has a lot to do with it. And people really, that's kind of what separates, to me, the greats from the good, so to speak. So, and I think in your case, there we go.
Oh, this is the Susan Wallace fight. This bitch. This hating ass bitch. We'll get into that in a second. We'll get into that. I think I need to speak on it.
All right. But honestly, I'm just like bringing this up because it's one of your earlier fights, and you like, it's real gritty, right? But like, I love that no nonsense. You're giving as good as you get. So yeah, but talk to me a little bit about when you're in that ring and the emotions going through. But yeah, clearly you don't hold back. I love it.
Yeah, you know what? This fight is crazy because, first of all, it's my first loss. My first loss that I ever, I think, I say this lightly, this bitch, but I have respect for their team, even though they don't have respect for me, which is beyond me, because I've shown the utmost level of respect for her and her team. And I fought her teammate in my last fight, her best friend, and I won that fight. And they started going on Instagram saying, I lost that fight. They won, Slay the IG Dragon. Some really hurtful, nasty, unattractive things, which I don't stand for at all. I think it is so unprofessional. I think it is so disrespectful to the sport, and disrespectful to themselves, because I come with honor and grace to all my opponents. I smile, I'm respectful, and that's what I believe. Those are the morals that I, Desiree, stand on. I will continue to always be like that. But going back to this fight, this is my first loss. I was very nervous about this fight because it was online fight, one of the largest Muay Thai stages at the time in the US. And she's a very decorated fighter. She has, I don't know, she might have had 15, 20 fights with the clip that you're showing here. And I was like at 4 or something like that. It was a very large imbalance. And Kirian was like, we have this opportunity. I think you're good enough to take this girl. And let's do it. What do you think? And I was like, all right, let's do it. And I lost that fight because my technique was not where it needed to be. They realized in round 3 that I didn't know how to clinch, and she just clinched me up, honey. And it was exhausting. And I give her those props and her team those props for making that seeing that during that fight. But that was a really tough fight. She just went pro. I don't think I'd fight her. I don't think I'd rematch it. I don't really have a desire now to even put my name in their realm because, you know, I just don't. I have no respect. If there was enough money on the line, I would do it and I would show up, and that would be, you know, I'd give her that. But I don't really even want to give them that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, bro, you know, like there's a fine line between I want to redeem myself and I really just, you know, kind of thing. But that was a tough fight.
So there you go. It's Miss Desiree Wodicker. That's part 1 of our discussion. And I think her come-up story is pretty damn inspiring. And we've only touched on a few things. But what about you guys? Did you feel she dropped some jewels of value? Are you guys inspired? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, guys, as mentioned, come back for part 2, where we'll dig into even more of her fight history with moments like this.
This is where I was like, I'm not scared to stand in the middle and fight.
Plus, follow us on all of my social media to keep up with more that I've got in store for the channel. And do please consider becoming a member. It's where you'll find more exclusive content that you guys are really gonna enjoy. Things and moments from this interview and others like it where I've had to cut or trim for the essence of time. Oh, and if you're one of those that's into the content, which is probably a safe bet if you've made it this far in the video, like and share the content, please. That's, of course, how we continue to grow and bring more people into this great community. Speaking of which, you've enjoyed this video and you want to see others like it, check out 1 or 2 over here.
Check it out.
Guys, stay safe. See you all in part 2, the next round, and of course, keep punching.
Look at this one. Look at that one. Look, are you kidding me?
Hey guys, this is Desiree, and you are watching Kung Fu Chronicles.